Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope that you're having a fabulous day so far. All right, quick reminder before I get started. If you're not already in our free Facebook group, Macro Tracking and Weightlifting for Women, join us over there. And also give us a follow over on Instagram at Queens of Iron. Lots of information and education for you all. All right, amazing, ladies. So I don't know about you. I'm over winter. I'm ready for the beach. I'm ready to start traveling and just have a little bit of fun this summer. But for a lot of you, when it comes to nutrition and macros, it's like it feels really easy at home, right? You're like Monday through Sunday, you're nailing it. But then the moment you step out of your house, right? Maybe you go on a trip or there's a work event or, there's a social event, a party, you're going out to eat. All of a sudden it feels really challenging, really overwhelming, right? You might think like, how am I supposed to track this? I can't find it on MyFitnessPal, right? There's no way to hit my macros when I have no control over what's being served. Or maybe even you thought like, I'll just do my best and I'll start fresh tomorrow, right? But that start fresh mentality is honestly just going to keep you stuck, right? Stuck in that process where it feels, progress feels inconsistent and you just get frustrated, right? So the truth is that it's not just knowing how to do it, it's really practicing it, right? Hitting your macros while you're traveling or you're at events or you're going out to a restaurant is a skill, right? And just like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you don't have to be perfect, right? You just really have to be intentional. It takes discipline, right? And the mindset of like, I get to be intentional with my choices, right? I get to take care of my body, and really standing firm in your convictions, right? Okay, so let's walk through kind of three main scenarios, travel, events, restaurants, and then you can have a game plan that works for any situation, okay? So the first thing is traveling, right? Setting yourself up for success when you're traveling. I'm getting fired up and now I'm starting to go. Traveling is actually the easiest of the three, right? Because you have a little bit more control than you think, especially if you're driving. Flying is a little bit more challenging depending on, what you're doing, but there's still options there. So the biggest thing that is going to help you is truly to look at your itinerary, right? Look through your itinerary and say, okay, where am I going to eat, right? What does my schedule look like? Where am I going to eat? When am I going to have time to eat? Where am I staying? Is there going to be a fridge? Really kind of mapping all of that out ahead of time and making the time to do it. And making the time to do it, right? Really being intentional with it. And maybe you don't know, right? Maybe you're like, well, this is a work trip that my boss set up for me or somebody else scheduled it for me. And so I don't know. Don't be afraid to ask, right? Never be afraid to stand up for yourself, ask for what you need, just so that you can be as prepared as possible, okay? Now I hear you, you're probably thinking like, it's overwhelming to plan ahead when I don't even know what's going to be available, or I don't have time to do this. One, it feels overwhelming now because it's new, right? New feels uncomfortable. It's not what you're used to. And so lean into that feeling a little bit, right? Because like any new skill that you learn, it gets easier the more you practice it, right? We can't be expected to be perfect at something or be even good at something that we've never done before, okay? So it's okay to feel that way. Just acknowledge that feeling, lean into it, and move on. And then two, I guarantee that you do have time, right? And that's a little bit of tough love to hear because I know that we're all incredibly busy. But it's like maybe you tie this on to something else that you're already doing, right? Maybe when you're sipping your morning cup of coffee, or if you're like, I don't have time to sit and sip a morning cup of coffee quietly, maybe it's when you're on the treadmill, right? Or you're on the Stairmaster and you're getting some steps in. Maybe that's when you choose to do it, right? The point is you have to make the time to prioritize your health and fitness, right? It cannot sit on the back burner. If you don't have that, you don't have anything, right? And so it has to be one of those non-negotiables in your life, truly. All right. So when you're traveling, the biggest thing is keep it simple, right? Pre-plan as much as you can, your protein and some snacks. Okay. The rest can kind of be adjusted on the fly. When you get to your destination, or even beforehand, I've had some clients who place an Instacart order to arrive at their hotel before they even get there, which is really cool that you can do that now. Or, like I said, you can just go to the grocery store when you get there, pick up some pre-cooked proteins, right? Grilled chicken is super easy, rotisserie chicken. They even have, I think the brand is called Kevin's. They're really beautiful, macro-friendly. They have chicken, they have beef. I think they have pork too, but anyway, they're pre-cooked meats. You just pop them in the microwave, right? Super easy to fix, super easy to prepare. Easy to eat fruits, right? Apples, berries, bananas, and small snacks, things like single serve cottage cheese or single serve yogurts, kinds of things that you can keep in the fridge, even if you're just going to be there for a couple of days, right? And then you can pack some of your essentials, okay? Pack some protein powder, pack something like some instant oats, some beef jerky, right? Maybe some tuna packets, or some travel-friendly veggies even. You could go do the sugar snap peas or baby carrots. Those travel well. Things that can make it super simple to stay on track, okay? I'll share a quick story. I'll never forget when I was working with Kristen years ago as a client with Queens of Iron. I was going on my first trip. And I said to Kristen, I said, I'm going to try to pack ahead. And she immediately shot back a message and she says, you're not going to try, just do it. And as a big science fiction nerd, I was like, okay, Yoda, got it. Not going to try, I'm going to do it. And that's kind of my motto from now on. It's like, I'm not going to just try to do this. Like you either do or you don't, right? So make that effort, make that intentional effort to do this. It's going to make your life so much easier, right? It takes off the mental load of worrying about what am I going to eat? How am I going to meet my macros? Because you've got some solid options and then you can kind of plan around it. Okay. All right. The other one is, the other one is pre-plan some meals. Okay. So know what's available maybe at your hotel. You can do a little bit of research ahead of time. Look at the area around you. Hop on Google Maps and see what are restaurants near where I'm going to be staying. What's available? How can I make the healthiest choices possible? Right. And again, it's not about being perfect because you're not going to probably hit your macros perfectly. Right. It's just really hard to do when we're having to eat a lot of our meals out. But you can make the best choices possible. Right. And still log it, still keep track of it to keep that awareness too. Right. Right. Social events and work dinners. This, one of the biggest challenges with events like this is, I don't know what's going to be available, right? Truly, you might be going over to someone's house. You have zero control. You can't say to them, well, these are the things that I eat, or can you make those? Like, that's just not the way the real world works. But that doesn't mean that you can't plan ahead, right? And so, I hear you. You're like, well, I don't know what's going to be served, so how do I plan for that? This is, again, where we tap into that discipline muscle and say, everything is figure outable, right? That's a motto at Queens of Iron. Everything is figure outable. We can pivot. We can figure this out as long as we're intentional, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And again, the more you practice this, practice not just this, some of the strategies I'm going to give you, but really get into the habit of weighing every single thing in grams and ounces. The better you're going to get at being able to more accurately guesstimate and eyeball portion sizes when you're out at restaurants or social events or things like that. So get into that habit if you're not already, weighing every single thing, because like I said, you'll get used to looking at, okay, this is 150 grams of strawberries, or this is 100 grams of, chicken, whatever it is. You've measured that out or weighed it out so many times that you can actually pretty accurately visualize it. Okay. But you have to do that for a long period of time. Okay. All right. The first strategy when you are traveling or going to people's houses is use the quick add feature in MyFitnessPal. Okay. There's a little button you tap when you're in your food diary. It says quick add. You pre-log an estimate of what you think you might eat. Now, this is just calories and macros, okay? My suggestion here is keep your carbs high, because typically when we're eating out, it's not going to be, usually super healthy choices, right? The carbs are going to be high. Fats are going to be, I would say, high to moderate, and then lower proteins protein because, usually there's just not a ton of good quality protein sources. So I would say even, upwards of like 50 grams of carbs would be good for most of you. And then even somewhere between like 20 to 25 grams of fat. And then maybe 25, I would say 25, maybe 30 grams of protein at the most when you're going out to eat. So you'll plug those macros in, it'll add up the calories automatically. But that gives you a really good idea of like, okay, this is my more play food, right? And then once you've done that, then you backwards plan, okay, to fill in the rest of your day. So then you go back. That's the first thing you plug in. First thing in the morning or the night before, you plug in that quick add. And then you go and you say, okay, I'm going to track my breakfast, my lunch, maybe a snack. And what I'm going to do is focus on lean proteins, lots of fruits and vegetables, right? As much as possible. And then once you're at the event, take inventory of your options, right? Don't just go through right away. Like take a step back, take inventory of what's available, scan the menu or the buffet, right? Make the best choice possible. I typically look for, if there's grilled meat options, I'll look for that. If not, I'll look for a chicken option, maybe a fish if that's available. Just kind of depends on the event, right? And then you can, modify some meals. So for example, if they're serving sandwiches, right? Grab 2 sandwiches, take the meat and the veggies out of one and stuff it in the other one, right? And that gives you the extra protein and some extra veggies without really adding, any carbs there. Or, if you're ordering at a restaurant, you're ordering like a salad, for example. I do this often. I'll order an extra serving of, grilled chicken or whatever my protein is, just to make sure that I'm getting enough lean protein there. Okay. And then, one big thing here and something that comes up a lot is, well, I don't want to like be the weird one, asking for this, or I don't want to like stand out. Confidence is key here, right? Stand firm in your convictions. If someone asks questions about your choices, own it. And it's like, I feel my best when I eat this way. You don't need to justify it to anybody else, right? Nobody else needs that justification. So, stand firm in your convictions and lead by example, right? Because I guarantee you other people will be thinking like, oh, wow, like maybe I should do that, so set that example, be a leader. All right, amazing. All right, eating out at restaurants is the next one. So eating out doesn't mean that you have to completely, guess your macros, blow your progress. Like there's a way to make it work. Now you might be saying like, well, if it's not going to be accurate, like what's the point of tracking? Close is better than not tracking at all, right? Tracking an estimate is really going to help keep you mindful of your choices. It's going to help you not overeat so much. And then it also helps you like mentally stay on track because there's not that like overhanging, like, oh my gosh, you're trying to do the mental calculations in your head. Did I eat too much? Did I eat too little? You've got a pretty good rough estimate, right? Good enough sometimes is good enough. One strategy to do is look up the menu ahead of time, right? It really doesn't take that much time to look up the menu ahead of time. Most restaurants now, there's some more like local, or if they're not chain restaurants, they may not necessarily have nutrition information available, but most restaurants do. So for example, a client and I were talking the day and she said, I want to go to Cheesecake Factory. I said, cool, let's look at the menu together. Well, she loved the shrimp scampi, but when we looked at the nutrition information, one plate of shrimp scampi was like 1,300 calories. And she was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I don't want that option. And so then we started browsing other options. They had like a lower calorie menu. And we found a similar option that was literally like a third of the calories. It was like 500 calories compared to 1,300. So we went with that option. So the more you can equip yourself ahead of time, have a plan ahead of time, you're also going to be more likely to stick to it, right? You're not going to show up to the restaurant and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. And then you eat everything in sight, right? You have this plan. You can do what I suggested earlier with that quick add feature. You go in, you plug that option into MyFitnessPal first, and you plan the rest of your day around it. Yeah. So we're not showing up at the restaurant starving, ready to eat everything in sight. You've pre-planned and backwards planned the rest of your day. So you've gotten enough protein in earlier in the day. You've met your fruit and veggie goal. You might be hungry, but you're not starving, right? Is the point. And you've met your nutrient goals. Okay. When you're out at a restaurant, look for as much as possible lean protein sources, vegetables. Most restaurants offer some kind of grilled chicken, fish, even a lean steak, and some kind of non-starchy vegetable, right? Those are the things that we want to focus on, okay? What you want to look out for is things like hidden fats. So for example, in that shrimp scampi dish, she was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea that there was like 77 grams of fat in this scampi dish. And it's like, well, it's all the butter, right? There's just tons and tons of butter. And most restaurants are cooking their vegetables in butter. They're cooking everything. Everything is cooked in butter or some kind of oil. So those things add up really fast. So anytime that you can limit some of those things or put them on the side, ask for sauces on the side, dressings on the side, anything like that. Ask for veggies steamed instead of sauteed in oil, right? Or ask for no oil. Ask for them grilled over fried, things like that. So there's ways that you can modify your any of the menu options, and 9 times out of 10, most restaurants are going to be able to make those modifications for you, right? And then one tip for if you are going to maybe it's a local restaurant or it's not a chain and they have no nutrition information available. A pizza joint is a common one, right? Pick something from a chain restaurant. So often what I'll do if I'm tracking a slice of pizza and it's at a restaurant that doesn't, there's no nutrition information, I'll just pull up something like maybe a Papa John's, right? It might be more than what I'm eating, but it's a pretty good estimate. And so it's always better to overestimate in MyFitnessPal, right? It might not look pretty, but that's okay. We don't care. We just want to be accurate as possible. We want to own it, right? Equip yourself with that knowledge, okay? And then the biggest thing is kind of a mindset shift, right? Decide to stay committed, right? No matter what. It sounds like a lot of work, Ashley. What if I want to just enjoy myself? Excuse me. I felt that one coming. I couldn't stop it. What if I just want to enjoy myself? You're saying, right? You can enjoy yourself and stay on track, right? It's not all or nothing, okay? So instead of focusing on, feeling restricted somehow, shift your mindset, right? To I feel my best when I make these choices. I feel amazing physically, mentally, emotionally when I make choices that support my body and make me feel good. And I can have fun. And it's not about the food when I'm having fun, right? It's about who I'm with, right? Maybe I'm at a social gathering or a family event. I want to enjoy the people, the environment. It's not always about the food, right? And then the other thing to remember again, consistency beats perfection always, okay? So a close estimate, good enough, is always better than not tracking at all, right? And then the final thought that I'll leave you with is food is not a moral decision, right? And you are not good or bad for whatever you're choosing, right? Food is just food. You want to make informed choices that make you feel really good, and then own it, right? You want that cookie? Okay, we're going to work that in, right? Set boundaries, right? Set boundaries with other people, with yourself. And you don't owe anyone an explanation ever for prioritizing your health, right? It's wild that in today's world, eating healthy seems weird to some people. It's really sad, but own your choices, right? The more you practice, the more you flex that discipline muscle, the stronger you're going to get, okay? And you don't have to figure it out all at once, right? Just start applying some of these strategies. The next time you go out, the next time you have a social event, a business trip, you're going out to a restaurant, start practicing it, right? It might feel hard at first because it's new. That's okay. We're going to lean into that, right? If you're listening to any of this and you're like, I still feel like something's missing, or I wish I knew, exactly what to do for my situation, we've got you, right? Just drop the word travel in the comments. If you're feeling stuck somewhere or you want to maybe chat through your specific situation, we would be so happy to help you with that. So just drop travel in the comments. We'll reach out and chat through your situation. All right, amazing. I appreciate you ladies so much. I hope that you have a fabulous day. I'll talk to you soon.